Elias Marlow was once a man of routine, rising before dawn to brew coffee and greet the day with quiet optimism. But as the nights grew longer and sleep became elusive, a subtle darkness began to deepen in his life. The ambient sounds of ticking clocks, distant city hum, and restless sheets seemed to echo the growing unease. Anna, his wife, remembers the first time Elias jerked awake, his limbs flailing and sweat beading on his brow. He was confused, unable to recognize his surroundings, repeatedly asking about the time. The confusion was not just a fleeting moment, it marked the beginning of a relentless unraveling. The symptoms escalated quickly. Violent jerking and sudden confusion became routine. Elias's body betrayed him, the invisible machinery of breath and heartbeat faltering in what doctors call autonomic dysfunction, the body's automatic regulation of vital functions. The family watched, helpless, as Elias slipped further from himself. Hospital corridors at night, cityscapes under sodium lights, and fragmented sleep shadows flickering. Monitors blinking became the backdrop to their ordeal, the recorder capturing a steady kettle, sound that could be used as a rhythmic motif. Anna and their daughter, Miriam, searched for answers, scouring old family albums and medical records in desperation. Patterns began to emerge: an uncle lost to mysterious insomnia, a grandmother who faded in confusion. Miriam remembered how her grandmother barely slept in her last months, gripped by fear. Anna had once thought it was simply age, but now, with Elias, it felt different. It was happening again, and the sense of inevitability weighed heavily. Clinicians listened intently, running tests, blood work, scans, endless questions, but the answers remained elusive. Something rare, something insidious was at work. The suspicion grew that this was not a common illness. Medical charts, clinicians conferring, and family photos became part of the investigation, the evidence mounting but never quite resolving. The clinical team began to suspect a prion disease, explaining that it was not a virus or a bacterium, but something stranger. Prion diseases. The words hung heavy in the air: fatal familial insomnia, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, core names that echo with dread. Prions are not alive. They are not viruses or bacteria. They are proteins, misfolded and infectious, capable of spreading their shape like a rogue stencil. A prion is a protein that, when misfolded, can cause other proteins to misfold in turn. Animated protein models swirl in the mind's eye, archival photos of Kuru victims flicker in memory, underscoring the gravity of the diagnosis. Elias's family learned that prion diseases are rare but devastating. They can strike without warning, erasing sleep, memory, and self. The mystery only deepened, and fear grew as the reality set in. There was no cure. Clinicians could only try to ease the symptoms as the disease ran its course. The Marlow family faced the unknown, watching Elias drift further from the man he once was. The world of prions, unsettling, invisible, relentless, had claimed him. Archive materials, family photos, medical charts, historical footage of the Kuru epidemic layered the story with haunting music and distant voices, the atmosphere thick with uncertainty. In the quiet of the hospital room, Anna sits beside Elias, holding his hand and searching for the man she loves. The sleepless seed has been planted, and the mystery is only beginning. Imagine, for a moment, the world at its smallest scale: a single protein, folded with exquisite precision, its shape determined by the laws of chemistry and the needs of the body. Proteins are the silent laborers of life. They build, they repair, they signal, they defend. Each one is a masterpiece of molecular origami, its form dictating its function. But sometimes, in the vast machinery of biology, a single protein misfolds. The error is minuscule, invisible to the naked eye, yet catastrophic in consequence. This is the birth of a prion, a rogue shape, a corrupted template, a bad stencil that threatens to rewrite the rules of the cell. A prion is a protein that, when misfolded, can cause other proteins to misfold in turn. Picture an animated molecular diagram: a healthy protein, its coils and sheets arranged just so, suddenly twisting into a new, unnatural form. The misfolded prion is not alive. It is not a virus, not a bacterium. It is a mistake, a bad apple in a barrel. As it touches its neighbors, they too begin to rot, their shapes warping, their functions lost. Or imagine a snowball rolling down a hill, gathering mass and speed, unstoppable. In the brain, this means healthy proteins are converted, one by one, into the rogue form. The result is a cascade of destruction, a chain reaction that accelerates, unstoppable once begun. The camera shifts from the molecular chaos to the hospital lab, where scientists peer through microscopes and run tests. Apples rot in time lapse. A snowball grows larger, the metaphors echoing the reality inside Elias Marlow's brain. Elias lies in his hospital room, early morning light, filtering creep lines. His eyes are open but unfocused, staring at a ceiling he no longer recognizes. His body twitches, myoclonus, the doctors call it. The movements are sudden, involuntary, as if his muscles are being tugged by invisible strings. His balance falters, the world tilts and spins. Ataxia. Rapid dementia sets in, erasing memories, blurring faces, distorting the familiar. Insomnia becomes absolute. The nights stretch on, endless and unyielding. Anna, his wife, sits beside him, her hand resting on his arm, searching for the man she once knew. The family watches, powerless, as Elias's mind unravels. The hospital room is filled with the sounds of monitors, the soft hum of fluorescent lights, the distant footsteps of nurses. Every detail is heightened, every moment stretched thin by the weight of uncertainty. Anna remembers, he stopped recognizing me. Sometimes he'd stare, as if I was a stranger. Miriam, their daughter, recalls he couldn't sleep at all. Nights felt endless. The progression of symptoms is relentless. Elias's speech falters, his thoughts scatter. He becomes a shadow of himself, drifting between worlds, caught in the grip of a disease that offers no mercy. The search for answers intensifies. Doctors order MRI scans, hoping to glimpse the damage within. The images reveal subtle changes, tiny holes, a spongy texture in the brain, the signature of prion disease. The MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, a scan that shows brain structure. EEGs record electrical chaos, the brain's signals flickering and fading, the patterns of sleep and wakefulness lost. AEG, electroencephalograph, a test of brain activity. Doctors draw spinal fluid, searching for biomarkers traces of the prion's handiwork. The RT-QIC test, a tongue twister, is the gold standard. RT-QUIC, real-time quaking-induced conversion, a lab test that detects prion proteins. It's a molecular detective, shaking samples to see if the row shape spreads. The results are precise, definitive, and devastating. The diagnosis arrives with the force of a thunderclap. Elias carries a mutation in the PRMP gene, the blueprint for prion proteins. The gene that codes for the prion protein. The disease has a name, fatal familial insomnia. The news lands heavily, echoing through the family's history. Anna's voice trembles. It's in the blood. It's in the family. Miriam's mind races. Does this mean I could have it too? The Marlow family sits in their living room, the air thick with fear. Anna's hands tremble. Miriam stares at the floor, her thoughts spiraling. The knowledge is unbearable. The disease is inherited, unstoppable, and it could strike again. Close-ups of hands, faces, family photos, genetic diagrams fill the screen, the visual evidence of a legacy no one wanted. In the days that follow, the family moves through a fog. Every gesture, every glance is colored by uncertainty. The sleepless seed has taken root not just in Elias, but in the family's future. The world feels colder, smaller, haunted by the invisible threat. The Marlow home is quieter now, the silence broken only by the ticking of clocks and the distant hum of the city. The invisible enemy lurks in the blood, in the genes, in the spaces between words. Elias's story is no longer just his own. It is a story of inheritance, of fear, of the relentless march of biology. The sleeper seed has been planted, and the mystery deepens. The family faces the unknown, their lives forever changed by the rogue protein that rewrote their fate. The hospital room is a world unto itself, suspended in time and space, where the outside world recedes and only the essentials remain. The air is thick with antiseptic, the hum of machines, and the faint scent of sweat and fear. Anna sits vigil beside Elias, her hand resting on his, tracing the veins that once pulsed with certainty. The days blur into nights and the nights into days. Sleep is a memory for both of them, replaced by a relentless cycle of worry and hope. Elias's body is frail, his skin papery and cool to the touch. He coughs, a wet, rattling sound that echoes in the sterile space. Aspiration pneumonia, the doctors explain gently, has set in. Aspiration pneumonia, when food or liquid enters the lungs, causing infection. The risk is constant. Each meal is a negotiation, each swallow a gamble. Anna feeds him slowly, spoon by spoon, her movements careful, deliberate, as if each action might tip the balance between safety and crisis. Sometimes Elias chokes, his eyes wide with panic, and Anna's heart races. The nurses rush in, suctioning, adjusting, soothing. The crisis passes, but the fear lingers, settling in Anna's chest like a stone. The hospital is a stage for small dramas, each one unfolding with the urgency of life and death. Elias's breathing falters, alarms sound, and the team descends. His oxygen mask fogs with each exhale, a visible reminder of the fragility of his body. Anna watches, helpless, as the doctors work. She feels the weight of every decision, when to intervene, when to let go. The line between hope and resignation is thin, almost invisible, and Anna finds herself walking it every day. Miriam visits, her face drawn and pale, carrying the burdens of her own grief. She brings flowers, books, fragments of normal life, trying to bridge the gap between hospital and home. She sits beside her father, reading aloud, her voice trembling. Elias's eyes flicker, sometimes focusing, sometimes drifting. He squeezes her hand, a brief moment of connection that Miriam treasures. She whispers, "I miss you, Dad," her words hanging in the air, unanswered but deeply felt. The family is fractured by the strain. Anna and Miriam argue in hushed tones, their voices sharp with exhaustion. The question of care home or hospital, aggressive treatment or comfort hangs over every conversation, a shadow that refuses to lift. Anna feels guilt, a gnawing sense that she is failing, unable to protect Elias from the relentless march of disease. Miriam feels anger, frustration at the slow erosion of her father's mind. The disease is not just in Elias, it is in the family, in the air, in the silence that fills the room when words run out. Elias's internal world is a fog. He senses the presence of his loved ones, but their faces blur, their voices become distant echoes. He thinks sometimes, "I am still here. I am still me," but the moments are fleeting, slipping away like water through his fingers. The world slips away, replaced by fragments of memory, flashes of light, the sound of Anna's voice, the warmth of Miriam's hand. There are small triumphs, moments that shine through the darkness. Elias manages a smile, a word, a squeeze of the hand. Anna celebrates these moments, holding them close, storing them away as proof that Elias is still fighting. The nurses praise her patience, her devotion, recognizing the quiet heroism of her care. Miriam finds solace in music, playing Elias's favorite songs on her phone. The room fills with melody, a brief respite from the relentless march of disease, a reminder of happier times. Hospitalization is a cycle. Elias is admitted, stabilized, discharged, and readmitted. Each time, the family hopes for improvement, but the trajectory is downward. The doctors explain the prognosis. There is no cure, only comfort. Prognosis, the expected course of a disease. Anna listens, nods, but inside she is screaming, desperate for answers, for hope, for something to hold on to. The emotional consequences are profound. Anna's world shrinks to the size of a hospital room, her days measured by medication schedules and vital signs. She dreams of Elias, whole and healthy, but wakes to the reality of his decline. Miriam withdraws, her visits less frequent, her grief private, hidden behind a wall of silence. The family is united by love, but divided by pain, each member struggling to find their own way through the darkness. Elias's thoughts, brief and scattered. "I am tired. I want to go home." The longing for normalcy, for the comfort of familiar surroundings, is palpable. Anna's resolve hardens. She advocates for Elias, questions the doctors, demands clarity. She becomes an expert in his care, learning to read the signs, to anticipate the crises. The nurses teach her how to turn Elias, how to prevent bed sores, how to comfort him when he is afraid. Bed sores, wounds caused by prolonged pressure on the skin. Anna absorbs every lesson, determined to give Elias the best care possible, even as the disease continues its relentless advance. There are moments of grace, fleeting but precious. Anna and Miriam sit together, holding Elias's hands, sharing memories. They laugh sometimes at old stories that sound fragile but real. The laughter is a lifeline, a reminder that joy can exist even in the midst of suffering. The disease is relentless, but so is love. Anna's devotion is unwavering, a force that refuses to be broken. Miriam's grief is deep, but her love endures, finding expression in music, in touch, in whispered words. Elias, in his fog, feels the warmth of their presence, the comfort of their love. The sleeper's seed has grown, but it has not destroyed the bonds that hold the family together. The world of prions is not confined to the rare and the tragic. It signals a paradigm shift, a new lens through which we must view the most common diseases of the mind. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, these names are familiar, yet beneath their surface lies a disturbing echo of prion-like mechanisms. The spread is not a classical infection, but a templated propagation, where a rogue protein shape is copied and multiplied, seeding destruction across neural landscapes. This templated spread, a process where abnormal proteins induce normal ones to adopt their shape, is reshaping our understanding of disease. To grasp this, imagine the brain as a vast city, its neighborhoods connected by intricate highways of neurons. Proteins are the workers, maintaining order and function, but when one worker tau, alpha-synuclein, or TDP43 misfolds, it becomes a saboteur. It doesn't simply fail at its job, it recruits others, spreading its twisted form like a rumor that warps the city's foundations. The boundaries between diseases blur, and Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, each shaped by its own misfolded protein, reveal an underlying mechanism that is eerily similar. It is as if we are witnessing a new class of contagion, one that moves not through blood or air, but through molecular mimicry, echoing through the corridors of the mind. Low pulsing synths blend with the distant hum of hospital machinery and the soft click of lab equipment, creating an ambient soundscape that underscores the gravity of this shift. In the laboratory, scientists trace the invisible footprints of these proteins, watching as tau, alpha-synuclein, and TDP43 misfold and propagate, echoing the relentless march of prions. Animated brain scans shimmer, revealing the aggregation of proteins clusters that disrupt communication, block signals, and ultimately destroy memory, movement, and identity. Researchers in white coats move through sterile corridors, their faces etched with concentration and concern, the soft click of lab equipment punctuating their work. The stakes are high, and research participation becomes a moral crossroads. Families are asked to donate tissue, to consent to clinical trials, to become part of the search for answers. Anna and Miriam sit across from researchers, the air thick with uncertainty, the forms long, and the risks real. Anna's steady resolve is evident as she contemplates whether helping someone else might be worth the risk. Every decision is weighted with consequence. To donate brain tissue is to surrender a piece of oneself to science. To join a trial is to accept the unknown. The family grapples with these choices, their hope mingled with fear, as Miriam quietly wishes her father's suffering could mean something. The hum of freezers, the distant clang of autoclaves, and the soft murmur of voices in a waiting room fill the background, reinforcing the seriousness of biosafety. Prions are notoriously resistant, impervious to heat, chemicals, and time. Hospital sterilization protocols are strict, with instruments autoclaved at extreme temperatures and surfaces scrubbed with bleach and sodium hydroxide. The autoclave, a machine that uses high-pressure steam to sterilize equipment, becomes a symbol of the relentless precautions required. Decontamination is not just a procedure, it is a ritual, every step measured, every precaution observed. The spectre of contamination haunts the hospital, the lab, and the morgue, as researchers speak in hushed tones about the risks, their eyes wary, knowing that prion contamination, the risk that brood. Misfolded proteins could persist and infect others, demands vigilance. Anna and Miriam encounter these protocols firsthand after Elias's death, when the family is asked about tissue donation. The process is explained in detail, from how samples are handled to how risks are minimized. Anna hesitates, then nods, believing Elias would have wanted to help. Their interactions with institutions are fraught. The media calls, seeking stories, the hospital requests interviews, and the research team asks for follow-up. Anna feels exposed, her grief made public, and she answers carefully, her words measured, hoping people will understand what this disease does. Distant telephones ringing, the soft click of cameras, and the low murmur of reporters create an atmosphere of scrutiny. Public policy is shaped by these stories, as the CDC and WHO issue guidance decontamination protocols, surveillance reports, recommendations for handling chronic wasting disease (CWD) in wildlife. CWD, a prion disease affecting deer and elk with uncertain risk to humans, becomes part of the wider social impact. The spectre of prion diseases forces us to reconsider the boundaries of infection, the meaning of safety, and the ethics of research. Families like the Marlows become advocates, their suffering transformed into action, as Anna testifies at a public hearing, her voice clear and resolute, calling for more research, better protection, and hope. Applause, the shuffle of papers, and the distant echo of a gavel mark the moment, but the open questions remain. Scientists debate the zoonotic risk of CWD, the normal function of prion proteins, and the possibility of new therapies. The uncertainty is unsettling, but vigilance is the only answer. The world watches, waiting for the next paradigm shift, as Miriam's quiet reflection lingers, expressing the hope that their experience might matter to something bigger. The sleepless seed has changed everything. The story is not just about Elias or his family or even prion diseases. It is about the way science, ethics, and society intersect, how the smallest mistake can ripple outward, reshaping the world. To truly grasp the scale of this, the perspective must widen. The city skyline at dusk, sunlight filtering through leaves, and the family walking through a hospital garden evoke a sense of vastness, interconnectedness, and vulnerability. The sleepless seed is a warning, a reminder that the boundaries between rare and common, between science and society, are thinner than we think. The paradigm has shifted, and the story continues.